The other day, I was looking at that record-breaking $1.8 billion Powerball jackpot, and the thought hit me. If the jackpot's that high, why doesn't somebody just buy every possible ticket? It seems logical. On paper, it's a guaranteed win, but nobody's ever pulled it off, so why not? Well, let's dig in and crunch some numbers, because becoming rich surely can't be that easy, right? Just a quick refresher if you're not familiar. Powerball is the US lottery game where you pick 5 numbers from 1 to 69, plus a separate Powerball number from 1 to 26. Drawings happen 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday nights. To hit the jackpot, you need to match all 5 numbers and the Powerball. But there's also smaller prizes for matching fewer numbers. Let's start with the math and figure out just how many ticket combinations exist. With 69 primary numbers to pick from, and needing to pick 5 per ticket, that's 11,238,513 possible main number sets. Not too bad. However, we still need to account for the Powerball. Each of those tickets could then be matched with one of 26 different Powerball possibilities. Suddenly, well, we're up to 292,201,338 total ticket combinations. Now we have to buy the tickets. So how much money are we going to need? Well, each ticket is $2, assuming there's no power play. So we're going to need $584,402,676. But if we buy every possible combination, we're also going to need to make sure that the Powerball prize is enough to pay us back. Additionally, if we're going to go through this insane level of effort, we're going to want to profit, right? So what do you think, $5 million? We should be able to live comfortably off the interest from that. So let's see where the jackpot is enough to justify this plan. First, the government is going to take their share for all of the hard work that they put into this plan. So right off the top, we're going to lose 37%. I want anyone who's watching this and wants to give it a try to know what it would take to succeed. So we're going to try for the highest state tax that I could find. Sorry, New York, with a whopping 10.9%, you are at the top of this list. We're definitely not going to be taking the annuity option. We want our money now. We're going to need our money now after dropping $600 million on this plan. So our cost, plus our preferred net gain of $5 million, we're going to need $589,402,676 after all our taxes are taken out. Divide that number by the remaining percent after taxes, which would be 52.1%, and we're going to need the payout to be $1,131,291,125. But we did buy every ticket combination, so there's going to be some other prizes that we're also going to win. We'll have 25 tickets that match all 5 regular numbers for $1 million each, 320 tickets that have the 4 main numbers and the Powerball for $50,000 each, 8,000 tickets with 4 regular matches for $100 each, and then 11,238,696 tickets worth $4 to $100 each. All of this adds up to an extra $93,466,048, or $48,695,811 after taxes. So let's subtract that from what we need to break even, and now the jackpot only needs to be $1,037,825,076. That has happened 6 times ever, 5 of which were in the last 3 years. One slight caveat. When they advertise the winnings, they are assuming you're taking the annuity payments. But the reality is, we don't get that number if we take the lump sum. We're only going to get 50 to 60% of that, depending on the current interest rates. So let's assume the worst case and say we're only going to get 50%. We're going to need $2.08 billion. Here's the problem. That has only ever happened. Never. The largest drawing ever was November 7th, 2022 for $2.04 billion. We're going to need to be a little bit more optimistic. Let's say the interest rates are higher and that we're going to get 60%. So we need the jackpot to be listed for $1.73 billion. Still rare, There have only ever been 3 Powerballs to exceed that number. However, they are all recent, 2022, 2023, and the most recent one in 2025. All right, so now we know we need a little under $600 million, and the jackpot needs to be listed for $1.73 billion or higher. Let's assume that those 2 boxes are checked. Well, we still have a few more constraints. We're going to need to print all of those tickets. And before you say, oh, just go and buy them online, well, it's not that easy. Some states will allow you to buy them on the lottery app, but they still cap you at per-day purchases. And there's third-party websites, but they aren't digital. They just send people to physically buy the tickets for you. And regardless, these tickets still need to be registered, which is not an instant process. So no, you can't just add 292 million tickets to your Amazon cart and hit checkout. So, let's go printing. Each ticket can have a total of 5 plays. With our close to 300 million combinations, we're still going to need 58.44 million tickets. A standard lottery printer in good working condition can print at 0.6 seconds per ticket. If we're using a singular printer, we're gonna be waiting a while. About 405 days. Problem with that is we need to print all of these tickets between 2 drawings, as you can't schedule which drawing you want to print the ticket for. So to figure out how many printers we're going to need, let's go take a peek at the drawing schedule. Powerball drawings are every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 10:59 p.m. ET. So that means our largest window is Wednesday through Saturday. We don't quite get all 72 hours, as some states cut off 1 to 2 hours before the drawing. And let's also assume that we're going to need roughly 8 hours a day to sleep, eat, and try to stay human. We're going to have about 48 hours to print all of these tickets, starting a few minutes after 11 p.m. on Wednesday and printing until roughly 9 p.m. on Saturday. So at 0.6 seconds per ticket in 48 hours, a single printer can print 288,000 tickets. Needing 58.5 million tickets, we're going to need 203 printers lined up, all printing continuously without a single interruption. But guess what? We have another problem. The paper. These rolls aren't endless. They need to be replaced. The longest ticket roll that I could find was a 96-meter roll. At 149 millimeters per ticket, we can print 644 tickets per roll. So, how many rolls does that mean we need? Nothing too crazy. Let's see, only about 90,746 rolls. It's enough paper to stretch 5,400 miles from New York to LA and then back again. Well, we're gonna need some friends for this. Let's assume that we can replace a roll and move on to the next machine every 9.5 seconds. We're going to need to find 4 friends who are ready to do a very monotonous task. We are going to need to replace 6.3 rolls per minute for 16 hours a day without missing a beat, for a total of 18,177 roll swaps each over the next 3 days. Now that we have added some downtime during the roll replacements, our new printer count goes up to 208 machines. Oh, and these numbers, they don't leave us any room for error. If somebody slips, drops a roll of paper, or a printer jams, well, we miss a ticket. If we miss a ticket, there's a chance we don't print the winning combination, and all of this was for naught. So, let's assume that this far into the system, it all works out. We get the money, we get the people, we get the printers. We work for 3 16-hour days without missing a beat. We do it. We print every single ticket combination. We go to bed knowing we did it. And a glorious $5 million profit is ours when we wake up the next morning. And we wake up, and the news hits. There were 2 winning tickets. With the jackpot this large, record numbers are playing every day, and someone else got the correct combination. We just lost $500 million. It's all gone. And depending on how you got that money, there may be some people expecting some answers. I doubt any of them are going to be happy to hear, well, we tried. And yeah, this is more common than you might think. Out of the highest 27 drawings, 8 times more than one winner was announced, including this recent $1.8 billion drawing. And finally, now that we've discussed the logistics of this plan and how absolutely insane of a project it would be, let's confront the elephant in the room, the financial backing of this project. If you have almost $600 million of your own money, this would just be a waste of your time. With a basic 5% interest sitting in a bank or treasury, you could make $16 million a year. So what other ways could we get this money? Bank loans? Not really an option. Under US banking rules, loans must be tied to legitimate business or personal expenses with collateral. The Truth in Lending Act requires disclosure of loan purpose, and no bank is going to list lottery tickets as an acceptable use. Gambling also falls under federal anti-money laundering regulations, which flag unusual financial activity. In other words, banks can't legally lend you $500 million to gamble. Well, what about personal or business credit? Many states, including New York and Florida, explicitly prohibit buying lottery tickets with credit cards. Even where it's allowed, the Consumer Credit Protection Act would require banks to treat that as a high-risk cash advance with low limits. So that's out. How about private investors or hedge funds? In theory, you could pitch this as an arbitrage, but the second you promise investors a guaranteed return, the SEC steps in. Under the Security Acts of 1933, offering investments without registration is illegal. A lottery syndicate selling shares in a guaranteed win would be considered an unregistered security offering. That is a federal offense. And finally, even if you could come up with the money, people don't like it when you game the game. The lotteries have their own rules in place due to an Australian syndicate in Virginia trying this exact plan. They found a loophole, exploited that loophole, and bought millions of tickets. They got investigated, and the regulators tightened up the rules and the monitoring systems. Because of that, now we have retailer discretion, where state lotteries give retailers the right to refuse bulk orders that disrupt normal business. So, you can't just walk into 7-Eleven and demand 10 million tickets. There's also transaction monitoring, where lottery terminals are tied into centralized state systems. Under suspicious activity reporting requirements, unusual bulk play can be flagged. These same systems are used for money laundering detection. And we also have other state restrictions. A number of states prohibit bulk purchases with credit, debit, or checks. The intent is to prevent problem gambling and fraud. So yes, mathematically, you could guarantee a Powerball win, but the Truth in Lending Act, state lottery restrictions, and federal security laws all slam the door on financing it. And add in retailer discretion and system monitoring, and even billionaires couldn't pull this off. Well, it was fun to dream about. I guess I'm just gonna have to hope that my occasional 1 to 2 tickets are lucky enough. Share this with the 4 friends who you think would be crazy enough and skilled enough to replace those printer rolls with you. What would you do if you won $500 million? Comment down below. Thank you for hanging out and entertaining this rabbit hole my brain went down. Until next time, when I end up chasing another random thought that spirals completely out of control.